Yo, so guys, welcome back to another video. This is another geography reaction, and this one is examining interesting maps on the US. It doesn't say on the US, but it is on the US. And I've done a few of these videos in the past. Probably not the same kind of, well, definitely not the same kind of maps and statistical sort of views on maps and all these different things. But I do enjoy these kinds of videos, and people do suggest these a lot. And I'm down to do more. I just don't know how many of these you can do until it's just there's nothing more you can learn basically. But definitely want to see more of these types of videos, and I see he's actually got a part 2, so maybe I'll do that in the future as well. But yeah, just more things you want to see like this when it comes to geography or historical type videos on the US or any country in the world, because especially when it comes to geography and maps, for some reason I've always really enjoyed maps. Like, I did geography in school, and it was always the thing I just loved the flags and the maps, just seeing different things like that. I don't know why, it's just something that I've always enjoyed, and yeah, I'm definitely down to see more. But let's get into this and see what this video has to offer and to see what we're going to learn from this. And yeah, thank you also for the support recently. I've said it in the last, I think it was in the Lamino reaction, for 100k. Like, my god, I can't believe it. It's ridiculous to me, but long may it continue. I don't know how long this crazy sort of support is going to go on for, but for as long as it does, I just want to thank you guys and let you know, like, I really do appreciate it, because I mean, how fast things can change, especially on YouTube. It's just ridiculous. Like, I don't get it, but I just want to thank you, honestly. It's ridiculous to me. And yeah, let's just see what 2021 will bring for us in terms of like the channel, and see what will happen next. But yeah, let's just get into this as well, man. I'm interested in seeing this video. But quick shout out to my Instagram and my Twitter, links in the description for those interested in following those of my social accounts. But let's get into this, man. I've done a video to this guy recently, actually, I think. Really recently.
Howdy, it's Kyle with a video
Yeah, I
talking
have.
about
Very
maps.
recent.
A map is literally just a visual depiction of geography, and that's what got me interested in geography in the first place. And I remember being a little kid, like maybe 5 or 6 years old. I was reading a giant world atlas, looking at road atlases across the U.S., and looking at various street maps of cities in the U.S., and I was just really interested in what the maps were showing, and hopefully other people are as interested in maps as me. And that's what this video is. And a lot of the maps I'm showing are ones that I made, and the ones that I didn't make were taken from the subreddit map porn. So, but anyway, let's get...
I need to learn how Reddit works. I really do. Wait, what's the name? Subreddit map? But I do need to learn more about, not more about maps, more about Reddit, because that's a site that a lot of people use, and I could learn a lot of things through that. But I've never understood Reddit. I'm not gonna lie.
Let's look at some pretty cool maps. I want to start off by showing some maps that highlight population
States that represent 50% of the US
distribution in the U.S. In this map,
again, a lot of my camera is covering Alaska and Hawaii, so I
the
apologize for
states
that.
highlighted in green add up to about 50% of the U.S. population. So approximately 165 million people live in just the 10 most populous states, and that's about 50% of the U.S. population.
That is crazy.
And in actuality, the population distribution in the U.S. is even more dramatic than this map implies. California and Texas take up a lot of space on the map in terms of green color, but most of the area of these states are not very populated at all.
Really?
This map shows population...
Because desert and stuff, isn't it? What? Counties that make up approximately 50% of the population. Oh my god, that is ridiculous. So there's that many people living in these states, but then in these states, the majority of the parts of the states aren't even populated to any sort of degree.
distribution in the U.S. at the county level.
What?
So the counties highlighted in yellow represent 50% of the U.S. population. So look at the small area in the U.S. where half of the people live. And even this map doesn't show just how dramatic the population distribution is, being that the counties highlighted in the southwestern portion of the U.S. are actually mostly open desert or wilderness. So it's only a small part of those counties where people actually live. So, for example, Clark County, which is the southern tip of Nevada where Las Vegas is mostly open desert. And Maricopa County in southwestern Arizona, where Phoenix is also mostly open desert as well.
Yeah.
But overall, this map really hits home just how many people in the U.S. live in cities or suburbs. This is another map that highlights the uneven population distribution
States that add up to population of the New York City metro. Wait, what?
in the U.S. The states highlighted in purple have a total combined population of about 21 million people, which is about the same as the New York.
21 million people, and that is nuts. But that's probably the size of like half of Europe, maybe a little less than half of Europe, but 21 million people in that size area. I know there's deserts, there's mountains all around this area. There's obviously what's the volcano? I forget what the volcano is called, but there's a national parks like all around as well. But still, 21 million people in that sort of size sort of area is crazy, and it's the same as the New York City metro, which is, mate, the world is messed up. Countries are messed up. It's just so funny how this sort of stuff is so consistent in all other countries. Obviously, this is to a bigger scale because the US is so big, but in the UK, it's the same kind of thing. Like, the county that I'm from is one of the biggest counties, but it's also like one of the most unpopulated counties. And it's just weird how that sort of works out.
City metropolitan area. Really so all of these states combined have as many people as just New York City metro. Here's another one that highlights the uneven population distribution in the U.S. In the far southwestern corner of the map is a highlighted county. That county is Los Angeles, which has over 10.
So Los Angeles County, states with a fewer people than Los Angeles. How? How is this even a thing?
Million people. The states highlighted in green all have fewer people than Los Angeles County. So LA County alone has more people than 40 states.
What?
But yeah, LA is just ever so slightly crowded.
Just
now here's another interesting depiction of population in the U.S. For each state, half of the population is in the purple area and the other half is in the yellow area. So pretty much every state follows a situation where half of the people live in a much smaller than half of the area of the state. But this is extra dramatic in Alaska, Hawaii, Nevada.
Yeah, I'll actually move my camera so you can see that. I mean, people maybe don't actually care about that, like seeing that, because they've probably seen this video themselves. But you can see, like, Alaska and Hawaii, it's just the smallest areas. Can I move my camera somewhere else for this video? Nah, because it blocks Florida. Fuck, I'll leave it here. Yeah, I apologise for this. I'm going to get a really good green screen soon, so I can sort that out, because I know a lot of people will miss a lot of information, but that's my bad.
And at the other end of the spectrum, Wyoming and Ohio have the most even distribution of population throughout their states.
Ohio is... Now this is wait, let's go back. Ohio is... I'm still learning which state is which. This is Ohio, I'm pretty sure. And you can see it is very evenly sort of matched. And I guess this is the other... Wait, Wyoming, did you say?
And at the other end of the spectrum, Wyoming...
So I'm guessing this is Wyoming, yeah? Because this says they're both quite equally balanced, and that is that. Or maybe that's not that one.
And Ohio...
I apologise. I'm gonna start doing quizzes on, like, Sporkle about US states and just US geography, etc. Because I know a lot of people would like that, and I'm definitely down to do more of that in the future. But yeah, for now, my knowledge isn't great. I'm gonna be honest.
The most even distribution of population throughout their states. Now, this is a pretty interesting map that highlights another aspect of population in the U.S. In this map, the U.S. is divided into 50 states of equal population, all with about 6.5 to 7 million people.
I mean, you look at this big-ass red one. You've got these tiny little ones. And then over this side as well, like, obviously Los Angeles, California, New York. And just look at that, man. This island alone has the same as... Bro, that is fucked.
So this shows a pretty large area that you need to make 7 million people in the north-central part of the country, and much smaller areas in the more urban centers of...
This is a really interesting video, man.
So in a political sense, this would be the most fair distribution of senators between the 50 states. This is a map showing life expectancy in the U.S., and the counties highlighted in green have a life expectancy over 80. And as a geographer, it's really hard to get a good gauge on this map.
I mean, you can see up north, and then like west coast, and then sort of down south here. But like this area, obviously there's something going on there. I don't know what's
going on. For the most part, people that live in cities tend to live a little bit longer.
Really?
As evidenced by almost every major metro area being highlighted in green. But the big exception are the cities in the industrial portions of the country. So look at Detroit, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh. All of these cities have a life expectancy under 80. And when you look at the Midwest, there really doesn't seem to be any major rhyme or reason as to why some counties are over 80 and some are under 80. Although there is a pretty strong correlation between poverty and life expectancy, that isn't the case everywhere in the U.S. For example, the area along the Mexican border in Texas is pretty poor, but all of those counties have an expectancy over 80.
Yeah, what the
And the
hell?
same is true for some of the desert counties in the southwest that border Mexico that are also pretty poor. But the sad thing about life expectancy in the U.S., and this map doesn't show it, but we're the only developed nation on Earth where life expectancy is going down.
What?
Pretty much everywhere.
Wait. Is that to do with like diet? Or is that... It's going down. I did not know that.
Else in the world that isn't a war-torn country has life expectancy that's going up, even in really poor countries, but for whatever reason, the U.S. is going down. I have my hypothesis on why this is, and it has to do with this next map. This one shows the percentage of the population that is obese. You look 30 years ago, every state in the country except Mississippi had less than 15% obesity rate.
This is within nearly a 30 year... Within 30 years, this has happened. Oh my days. So what is the healthiest state when you look at this? Colorado, I think. Yeah, Colorado. And that's like... That would have been seen as an unhealthy state in the 1990s. And Hawaii as well. What the Okay, that's kind of wild, man. How quick things can change.
You look at today, every single state has an obesity rate over 20%, with more than half of the states having an obesity rate at a third of the population or more. There's also a pretty interesting correlation.
To be fair, the UK isn't much better, I'll be honest with that. I know the UK's got a big obesity
between
problem
states
as well.
that border the Mississippi River and being the most obese states. The eastern borders of Iowa, Missouri, Arkansas, and Louisiana, and the western border of Mississippi is the Mississippi River, and for whatever reason, these are some of the most obese states in the country. This is another map that I made that highlights the largest sector of the economy for each state. So each color represents the major industry of the state that drives the economy.
So automotive is very sort of here, this area. You see, like, this is like pharmaceutical, chemicals, which is all down here, then a little one up here. That's North Dakota, South Dakota. Mining, still mining, god damn. But a lot of it on the west sort of coast, the west side, is like... wait, what's that even say? I can't even read that. TCCH Advanced Manufacturing. Don't know what that is. High tech advanced manufacturing, I guess that is. Tourism, Nevada, really? Wait, what is there in Nevada to see as a tourist? That's not even me like saying anything. I'm wondering what is there as a tourist. Maybe it's just certain sort of what, I forgot what they're called, tourist attractions that are there, but I can't think off the top of my head what is there. And then all spread around is just like agriculture, etc., which is pretty
A few things that stand out in this map include the automotive belt that stretches from Michigan down to Alabama.
Yeah,
all
like
of
a
those
strip.
states highlighted in the dark blue are states where the automotive industry is the largest part of the economy. It also shows that the western U.S. is where you have the largest amount of the high-tech sector, but also Minnesota, Missouri, North Carolina, and Vermont are big players in terms of high-tech. So in terms of finance and banking, the northeastern U.S. is where you have the largest concentration of it, but also Illinois, Delaware, and surprisingly South Dakota and Nebraska. Delaware and South Dakota have pretty lax laws on credit cards, so a lot of credit card companies are headquartered in those states. And Nebraska has a lot of insurance companies. So those light blue states, it's all about the money flow. Mm-hmm. And you can clearly see the oil and natural gas belt in the south central U.S. and those green colored states. But also Alaska and North Dakota are also heavily dependent on oil. Wyoming and West Virginia highlighted...
Oh yeah, Alaska's got oil for days, hasn't it? That's where Russia messed up selling it for so cheap, because the oil there. I mean, the profits the US made from Alaska, I can't even imagine.
Gray are the only two states where mining is the largest part of the economy. The states highlighted in the bright green are the ones where agriculture is the largest part of the economy. Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, highlighted in purple, are the only two states in the country where non-automotive manufacturing is the largest part of the economy. And it's hard to see, but little tiny New Jersey in dark green is the only state in the country where pharmaceuticals is the largest part of the economy.
Oh, I got it wrong. Oh, that's my bad. I got it wrong. I thought that was Texas
and then
like
finally,
Oklahoma,
Maine, Nevada, Hawaii, and Florida. It's all about tourism. So it really points out that each part of the country is really big in a certain sector of the economy, and they're all important. This map here shows the largest portion of just the agricultural economy. So every state has some.
I'll let him just read it out now, because I didn't know he would do that.
This map shows what the largest part of that ag is.
Look at the cattle.
So you'll see most of the country is highlighted in different shades of blue, which has to do with livestock. The dark blue in the southeast is poultry, the medium blue in the west is cattle, and the faint light blue, it almost looks like a gray, is dairy. It's also interesting that there are only 5 states in the country where fruits are the largest part of the agricultural economy, and they're on the 4 corners of the contiguous U.S. and Hawaii.
That is
strange. The Corn Belt
strange.
of the Midwest is pretty obvious in yellow. The states highlighted in teal, which are Alaska and a few of the smaller ones in the Northeast, are where nursery crops are the biggest part of the agricultural economy. The medium green are the legumes, primarily soybeans, but there are a lot of other types of legumes grown in Michigan. And also interesting is that the only 2 states where vegetables are the largest part of the economy are Arizona and Maine, in 2 opposite ends of the country. In Arizona, it's primarily leafy greens, and in
Literally opposite sides of the country, they have the same. That is so strange to me. And it's different, like, climates, etc. Like, that's so weird how that's the case. But I guess it's different types of vegetables, so that does kind of equal
Maine
out.
is
But
primarily
still.
potatoes.
Wait, so that is what it's saying, like, Maine, that makes sense because you can grow potatoes in England pretty easily because the weather doesn't have to be hot. So what's Arizona?
It's primarily potatoes. And there's always a debate. In Arizona, it's primarily leafy greens, and in Maine, it's primarily potatoes. And there's always a debate whether or not potatoes are vegetables, but for this map, I did count them as vegetables. And then there's Oregon, hooking the whole country up. Now, this is a really cool map. I did not make this one, but it shows land use in the contiguous U.S. And of course, the first thing that hits you is that large area of cow, pasture, and range. That's a pretty sizable chunk of the country that's just being used for cattle grazing. A lot of the land is used for ag, although I'm surprised how much is used for just livestock feed. So look at the area that's the cow and pasture range, that kind of peach color in the middle, and the livestock feed just to the east of that.
Yeah,
and that's a
it.
huge part of the U.S. Now look just north of that, the food we eat. So the food we eat, it takes up a lot less
So
space
it's all
than what we
linked.
do for livestock. So it shows just how little of the country is actually built up urban area and just how much more is used for ag. It's also interesting to see just how much space golf courses take up in the U.S. and the little polygon
It's got its own little area if you just
for
golf.
golf is located in the southeastern U.S., kind of centered around Charleston, South Carolina. So this is a really cool map, and I hadn't seen anything like this before I saw it.
Corporate timberland, private family timberland, federal state timberland. I can't say that. Warehouser. I can't say that. Railroads, airports. I like how it's doing this. It's obviously not in just these locations, but it's showing the general sort of sizing. Rural housing, urban commercial, urban housing. My days, man. When you see it like this, you still realise there's so much like free land in the states just being used for like certain things. National parks, state parks, federal wilderness.
Most Americans
Feed
know that
exports.
Alaska is the largest state, but a lot of folks are surprised to see just how large it really is.
Oh
when
my.
overlaid on the map of the contiguous U.S., the western end of the Aleutian Island chain goes to about Los Angeles.
Fucking hell. I mean, that's the length of the US. Obviously, it's not the size, but the size is ridiculous. It's also like the least populated as well, which is just also just even
or so
crazy.
on this map. And the southeastern peninsula of the state goes down to about Jacksonville, Florida,
That
with
is
the main
nuts.
chunk of the state being almost the size of the entire Midwest. And here's a map comparing the size of Alaska to Texas, and Alaska is 2.5 times the size of Texas, and
Texas is
pretty
huge.
small compared to Alaska. And Alaska single-handedly makes the U.S. a much larger country in terms of area than it otherwise would be.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm going to show a few maps overlaying other large countries on the planet on the U.S. to give you an idea of just how big those other countries are. So here we have Australia, which is considered its own continent.
Yeah, Australia's
It's
huge.
about the size of the contiguous.
The thing is with Australia, like the majority of it isn't even habitable. Like as opposed to the US, where like the majority of it is habitable. I can't say the word habitable. Can't say it, but you get what I'm trying to say. Like, what's it called? What's it called? The outback. That's the outback, right? Like the centre of Australia, like the bit that goes around. So obviously, a lot of the land isn't really like there. It's there, but it's not there. If that makes any sense.
U.S. Of course, a big difference for Australia is that most of the middle part of the country has very, very few people, with the vast majority of the population being either on the east coast or in the southwestern portion of the country. And this one shows Brazil overlaid on the map of the U.S.
Fuck me,
Brazil
Brazil's
is
huge.
actually larger than the contiguous U.S., but Alaska makes the U.S. overall larger.
True.
And when you look at just how much of Brazil is the Amazon rainforest, Think of half of the U.S. being tropical rainforest. And the third of these that I want to show is China overlaid on a map of the U.S.
Yeah, China.
And just like
big.
Brazil, China is larger than the contiguous U.S.
But again, the mountains.
But Alaska makes overall U.S. larger than China. So the U.S. is the third largest country on the planet. However, it would be fifth without Alaska. Now I want to look at a few maps that compare the U.S. to other parts of the world. This one here shows just how powerful California is in terms of economy. Germany is the only country in Europe with a higher GDP than California, and Ireland.
That's wild. I remember seeing this, and I was blown away at how California has a high or similar / higher GDP to Great
Norway,
Britain.
Luxembourg, Switzerland, and Monaco are the only countries that has a higher GDP per capita than California. And on a global scale, only China, Japan, and Germany have larger GDPs than California. Also note that California only has 40 million people, whereas the UK, France, and Italy all have 60 million people. So California has a larger economy than 3 countries that are 1.5 times the size of it. And these are rich countries too. This is a map of Western Europe that shows subnational divisions and how they compare to areas in the US in terms of population. So for example, Scotland and the northern part of England has about 21 million people combined, and that's about the population of Florida. Wales has about 3 million.
This is actually so interesting. Oh my god. California. Oh my god. That is fun. That is ridiculous.
And that's about the population of Utah. So this is a really great map for examining population distribution in Europe.
It makes you realise how well distributed it is in the US then, because it makes you realise how high overpopulated Europe is. Really.
So it shows which areas have a lot of people and which ones are lightly populated. So if you look right in the middle of this map, you can see where it says Texas in light blue, and that's essentially the Netherlands and Belgium combined. Texas is like 10 times the size of those places with the same population. So Netherlands and Belgium are pretty crowded. And you look just to the east of there, it's even more crowded in Germany. Germany has about 80 million people, even though it's only half the size of Texas, which has 30 million. Germany be crowded. Europe in general is much more crowded than the U.S., but you look at Ireland and it's mostly lightly populated. So Ireland's a pretty large area with a small population.
Yeah.
So the next time you think that where you live in the U.S. is crowded, take a look at this map. Earlier we looked at how Alaska's size really makes the U.S. overall much larger, but now let's look at the other end of the spectrum, the smallest state, Rhode Island. So the area highlighted in pink is pretty much the state outline for Rhode Island, and all those smaller blobs inside are the smallest countries in the world. And the scariest one of all these is Singapore. It's a tiny little country, but there are 6 million people in Singapore.
How is that even allowed? 6 million people?
There are only 1 million in all of Rhode Island. So if you live in Rhode Island and you're having an inferiority complex, well, take a look at this. You're bigger than all of these little countries. So those are some pretty cool maps I wanted to show you. I enjoyed this, man. I'll probably do a video like this every now and then that's highlighting some pretty cool maps that show some pretty interesting things. But I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please give me a thumbs up to let me know you approve, and subscribe to this channel if you're
I'm actually going to subscribe. I really like his videos, honestly. He's got a part 2. I'm going to have to see that. I mean, if people enjoy this, I definitely will. But even then, I'm going to be seeing more of these videos because I love seeing the sort of comparisons with Europe and just the comparisons between states. It's so interesting to me, man. I don't know why. I'm so weird. I just like geography, just type videos, population type videos, like comparisons to Europe and just like things like that. I really do enjoy them. But let me know again if you want to see more stuff like this. I'm going to read a few of the comments. And again, shout out to Geography King. Subscribe to him if you haven't. I really do enjoy his videos, man. I love reacting to this kind of stuff. And he's got a part 2 again, so I'm looking to do that in the future. And then there's Oregon, hooking the whole country up. Oregon was marijuana, right? I was the weird kid in school who looked at maps too low. It's a good thing. I was, but I was kind of low-key about it. I've always loved this kind of stuff, though. I really have. What do you get if you cut Alaska in half? Texas would be the 3rd largest state. I like what he's done there. I like what he's done there. That's a good comment, man. I actually do enjoy that a lot. This channel is extremely underrated. Great vid card. I enjoy this channel a lot, man. F for Mississippi for having 0 counties with 80 plus life expectancy. I knew it. It's the Mississippi River that's making me obese. All the other experts said it might be the cheeseburgers, barbecue, beer, and ice cream. Shows you what they know. I've always loved maps. I wanted to be a cartographer. I don't even know what that is. I still enjoy staring at maps today and dreaming of where I can go. On a slow, dark day at work, I'll pull up Google Maps and travel the world. Honestly, that's the beauty of Google, right? Like how in the 50 states, for even distribution, Tennessee is still Tennessee. If I had $1 for every time you said population in the US, the channel is criminally underrated. You deserve more subscribers, Carl. Honestly, shout out to him, man. I really do enjoy his videos. I really do. So again, if you haven't checked him out already, give him a subscription if you enjoy this kind of content. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to see another part to this mini series, I'll be down to do so. But yeah, again, thank you for the support recently. It's crazy to me. It's absolutely crazy. But long may it continue. Hopefully you guys continue to enjoy my reactions. And yeah, until next time, like, subscribe. Peace.